Okay, now to our last little bit of trick that we're going to do is the law of cosines. And we've talked about the law of sines, we've solved right triangles. Now we're going to look at the law of cosines. And once again, these do not need to be right triangles in order to use them. Now, there are three forms of the equation. They are not three different equations. They're the same equation. They're just set up based on which angle or which side you're looking for. So here's things you want to notice. This always matches this. Same thing here and same thing here. And then these in the middle are the same. Okay, so there's our formulas. And yeah, you might want to write those down. Actually, I'm going to try to do a snapshot and split the screen. Can I do? No. I thought, oh, there it is. Okay, so now you can see the law of cosines on the left as we work through the problem here. Okay, so I'm going to move this guy and we're going to work on a problem here. Okay, so first I have to determine, am I finding an angle or a side? Let me try to move this down. Okay, and in this case the x is here, so I'm looking for an angle. So I look at my formulas, I'm looking for angle C. So which one involves angle C? The bottom one. The bottom equation, which says c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c. Okay, so we're going to do the hard one first. All right, so here's what I know. I know that this is little c, I know this is little a, and I know this is little b. So I'm going to fill those in. So 20 squared is 34 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 34 times 15 times the cosine of angle C, which I don't know. All right, now be very careful. I'm going to draw a box around this. This is one thing. The only way to separate it is by dividing. I'll show you how that works in just a second. Okay, so we got our calculator here. We're ready to go. So we're going to do some math. 20 squared is 400. I happen to have done this one ahead of time. 34 squared is 1156. 15 squared is 225. And then this times this times this is negative 1020 cosine of C. Okay, that's just doing the math. So 34 squared, 15 squared, and then 2 times 34 times 15 is 1020. And the negative sign is that minus sign right there. And remember, the only way to separate this is through division. Okay, so I got my calculator right here, so I'm going to do a little math here. So 400, I'm going to subtract 1156 and 225. So I have negative 981 is equal to negative 1020 times the cosine of C. Again, the only way to separate it is to divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 1020. Okay, what's a negative divided by a negative? It better be a positive. So 981 divided by 1020 gives me 0.9617, so forth and so on. That is the cosine of C. I want C, so I'm going to do second cosine of that answer equals. Angle C is 15.9 degrees. Angle C is 15.9 degrees. And that's all I'm asked to find. I'm only going to ask you to find one thing in a law of cosine situation. Okay, let's do that again. Okay. Oh, this one we're asked to find a side. I kind of like this. I'm asked to find side C this time. So I'm going to use the same formula. C squared is a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of C. And now I'm going to plug in what I know. I'm going to change colors on you here. Okay, I know that c squared, that's what I'm looking for. So x squared is a squared, that's 4 squared, plus 10 squared minus 2 times 4 times 10 times the cosine of 110. And here's what's really, really, really nice. I can do all that in one step on my calculator just like this. 4 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 4 times 10 times the cosine of 110. Close that parenthesis, hit enter, and it tells me that x squared is 143.36. I hit second square root of that number, enter, and I get x is 11.97, which if I round correctly is 12. If I round correctly, that would be 12. Let's try that again. Okay. Again, we're finding angle C, so we have the same formula as we had before. C squared is A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. Notice, I know all three sides, and that is when the law of cosines is really, really, really helpful. When we know all three sides and don't know any angles, we can use the law of cosines to find one. So, here's my formula. I know that C is 9, so 9 squared is 7 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 7 times 8 times the cosine, oops, that's supposed to be a C, of C. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for C. Again, remember, this is all one thing and has to be kept together. So I do my math. 81 is 49 plus 64 minus 2 times 7 times 8 is 112 cosine of C. I'm going to get these out of the way. So 81 minus 49 minus 64 gives me negative 32 is negative 112 cosine of C. I'm going to divide by negative 112. Again, a negative divided by a negative, so divided by negative 112 gives me 0.2857, so forth and so on, is the cosine of C, second cosine of that number, and I get C is 73.4 degrees. 73.4 degrees, not so horrible. Let's find a side one more time. We found two angles. Let's find another side. Here we have another one. Again, for some reason I picked all C's. I shouldn't have, but I did. So it doesn't matter as long as you just line things up. You'll be fine. So C squared is A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. Plugging in what I know. X squared is 12 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 12 times 17 times the cosine of 80. I'm just filling it all in. And in this case, my calculator does the rest. So 12 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 12 times 17, cosine of 80. And it tells me that x squared is 362.15, so forth and so on. Again, I just leave it in my calculator. Second square root, second answer, enter. I get x is 19.0. And that is the length of my missing side. Now that makes sense because it has to be the longest of the three based on the triangle. Makes sense. Okay, that is how we apply the law of cosines. I hope the video was helpful.